Hello everyone, welcome back to Chainsaw Slaughter Day 1. We are coming in on another Thompson House game. We had a bit of a caster switch up and I'm joined here today by Large Earthy Spud. Mega Dirt Potato. And we are going to be watching our first Nurse game of the day. How are you doing today, Dirt?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm waking up and I'm hearing someone screaming every time they teleport, so I know it's going to be a good game. We have, I believe you said, Valhalla killing Cataclysm survivors on Nurse Thompson House with this chainsaw Grindhouse bouncing. What do you think of surveillance here?
I think Surveillance is a good pick. You're pretty limited on perks when you play S tier, so you usually want to do something a little bit creative, but we do see the real quick, we see the hit, not able to get the pallet drop in time, and it's going to be committing this chase over here. Window Vault coming in as Overdose is going to be committing onto this chase, trying to get this down. We do see the lucky break coming in, but does track the Survivor very well, not able to make much distance, and that's going to be the first down of the game, probably coming in here pretty soon. We see a totem breaking from across the map, and Overdose just going to be committing, getting that down, first hook of the game. And pretty good find, pretty good down, pretty fast chase. So we're going to be seeing the hook over here. Trying to get as central as possible when you're playing Nurse. That seems to be the best idea. Get as central as possible and then just pressure the gens from there. But as I was saying, with Surveillance in hand, it does give you a lot of information on which gens are being worked on. And on a map like Thompson House, where you're supposed to be playing your split and versus a killer like Nurse, where you need to play your split, you need to take chases very far away, you need to pressure the gens that are far away. Every time someone wants to rotate off of a generator for an unhook, they are going to be giving ruin to the gen, and then Surveillance is going to let you know that they were on it. So without these survivors knowing that Surveillance is in play, if they want to rotate for an unhook, then the killer should know exactly where they are coming from, which makes it very, very dangerous, and you can catch a lot of unhook rotations off, especially from like the deli player, for example. And if you can prevent that deli from coming in, you're in a very good spot as the killer.
I agree. I think having that information as a nurse is important, and I think that's why the survivors realizing, wait a second, let's do some math here. There's Corrupt, we saw that go away, Undying got cleansed, and now Ruins got cleansed. You say there's one perk left, so denying a lot of the power, all of the aggression gone. But for that trade, nurses said, great, I'm about to have a survivor hit second, and can I body block the deli from getting the unhook?
Oh, not quite able to get the body block. Last second unhook trade coming in, most likely from our deli player, as Winter Edit now vaulting this window and making his way over towards Shack, just getting as far away from these generators as possible as they just pop this gen, and just by the tip of the blade is going to go down as well. And Overdose going to slug this and come back over to this survivor. If this is deli, it seems like he just wants to hook it and get it out of the way, which I think is a very, very smart play considering how you'll be entering the 3v1 pretty soon. Not quite yet, but pretty soon. You do not want to have to deal with deli, and just getting it out of the way is the best bet. No survivor is going to be able to pick up in time, as Overdose is going to be coming back to the slugged survivor, and we might potentially see a DS come in. If it is a DS, then these survivors could definitely just, or this survivor could just definitely make their way over to the corner, but it looks like no DS is going to be in play. Overdose got very lucky not tunneling the DS first. That's going to be a hook in the center of the map too, and now Overdose can go back to hook and pressure these survivors.
I think a really important detail here is based on how fast the down came on to Winter Edit, I'm not sure if Sin got their deli. They weren't broken from the unhook. Somebody had to hop off of their gen and get an unhook. And great, it means Renato is healthy, but it means that Overdose is aware that only one person is on a gen, and that's the gen that popped. So Overdose knows where all four of these survivors are, so they have full agency to take this chase onto Licks, but they miss the swing here at the edge of the pallet gym. Gonna go into fatigue, and now Overdose, knowing where everyone is, knows the timing, they need to go back to hook. As the unhook does come through, and a great understanding of the size of this map. Not a map you're going to see super often in comp. It's not Cold Tower for Nurse, but knowing the timings to make sure they get back to Winter Edit at a great timing to get this chase, and even with a lucky break, be able to track them. All of the details coming in, super important. But oh no, as I say that, did they lose Winter Edit?
I think they might have. This is the lucky break, and since the chases were so quick, he still had a little bit of meter left on that lucky break, so he definitely could have used that to go somewhere and just hide now. And for those who are not aware, losing your tunnel out in any set, but losing your tunnel out in a Nurse set it puts a lot of pressure onto your shoulders because you lose that tunnel out, you lose a lot of your lethality because when you enter the 3v1, that's when you're at your strongest. So now, not knowing where that last survivor is, they can just hide out, and as long as they stay alive for a little while and prevent that tunnel out from happening, they can just pressure these gens so much better. And now there's a lot of pressure on Overdose's shoulders here. He does get the tag onto Yatos here, as Yatos does take that distance down a little bit, but not going to make it very far. That's going to be the down happening under the pallet, and we do see Winter Edit gets reset as well. No tunnel out at this point in the game with progress on generators. There's a lot riding on Overdose right now to recover from this current situation, especially since he doesn't have any regression anymore, since his totems went so quickly.
Yeah, but that is the risk you take when you're applying this corrupt Ruin Undying. You're saying either my Ruin is going to stay up, you guys are going to try to crank gens, we're going to get to the 3v1, I get a tunnel out, and now it's a 3v1 with Ruin, or you're going to say the totems are going to slow you down so I can get my tunnel out and keep gens up. But now Overdose in a situation with no totems and no tunnel out, so you're playing a surveillance-only nurse, and no offense, surveillance is not that strong of a perk without Ruin. It's great with Ruin, but by itself it is not potent. But what is potent is Overdose's blinks as they get a 2-tap onto Licks in the middle of the corn. And now Overdose wanting to slug, hoping to find winner at the Shack gen, and this gen has progress, but this gen have a Nancy, and it does. There's a tunnel out, we found it, we stabilized, and Overdose, I think they're in control again.
Yeah, absolutely. These survivors, they could have played it very safe and just had Winter Edit not be too aggressive here, but Overdose, realizing that they could potentially just put the survivor on the furthest gen away, which he very well predicted, and now he just gets that down and gets that tunnel out. And while there was a little bit more pressure put onto him, or quite a lot actually, hearing the Shack gens at, he did manage to get that tunnel out, which means he is back in 4K territory and can recover that and get that 4K that is definitely what you want going into a survivor side of Nurse. We do see a generator popping, and note the Shack gen still was really high progress, so there is still a lot of pressure from the survivor side. They made the most out of the fact that the tunnel out was so delayed, and now Overdose, just needing to get these downs quickly, does manage to get a little bit of the tip there on the hits from the blade, and is going to be committing over here as the survivor makes his way towards the popped generators, dying away from active. That's going to be the auto aim coming onto the hay bale, extending Lick's chase by just a little bit more, which is every second counting for these survivors, as you really do need to go pop that Shack generator before Overdose has a chance to stop it. And Overdose just going to be slugging the survivor, playing off of the fact that he's in the 3v1 now, and he has a lot more pressure, forcing one survivor to rotate for pickup as he pressures one survivor off of the generator on repeat. Doing this until everyone is downed is definitely what you want to go for in the current situation, and it could potentially lead you to 4K even at 2 generators if played properly. He does find the healthy survivor. He could just tag this and leave, trying to find the other survivor. We'll have to see how Overdose wants to play this, getting the tag and committing onto the survivor, just fully committing too. So that means the Shack gen could potentially pop for this, but we do see another very active generator going to be kicking it as the pickup comes in across the map, and Overdose just taking her hook.
Yeah, this has been a show on how to play a 3v1 as Nurse. You have the information now, you know approximately where Licks was a little bit ago, especially if you do see the reset come through. But I think these two survivors injured might be trying to double Shack to get it done, to say, hey, great, 4K1 is reasonable. But Overdose, being aware they might be somewhere else, trying to get a safe reset, trying to work this gen, or just wanted a high vantage point. And the heal does come on to, I'm gonna butcher that name. You wanna help me with that one? Yatos?
Yatos, yes. Yatos.
Sounds good. Thank you kindly. But before anyone asks, this is EU versus EU, so those blink hits hitting just at the end is not ping. It just might be EU internet, whatever that means to NA viewers. But this is definitely a scary situation for both sides. You can have Shack gen pop and get an unhook and some great plays to pop this. You could just be forcing your survivors to unhook and let them die to hope to get the gen done. But this could be very swingy. 4K2, 4KO could be reasonable for both sides. I think 4K1 is what we might be looking at here, with Overdose sacrificing some time on the Shack gen. Concerned about the unhook, and it doesn't come through. And do they pop the Shack gen in time is the question that we're asking. But we do see this tap here in the distance. And there's the injury on Yatos. Does Alex get the gen done, or what is Overdose going to be doing here now? Getting it down, that's what they're doing.
Excellent one blink onto Yatos here. Just playing so greedily for it and getting the down, but that's exactly what you need, since you know you can definitely 4K1 in this position, but I think that they really wanted the 4K too, but they weren't quite able to get it. But still really good results, especially considering the size of the map. We do see outs quite often on whenever Nurse is played on this map, so still a very good result. But the game is not quite over yet, and as we all know, you can't count teams out in any situation, as Lix is not getting found here and can potentially rotate up and make some plays. But Overdose does know where the target is, as the Survivor only is really going to make the way towards the top side, and it looks like Lix is going to get found here at Shack. Not able to make it out of this little choke point area, and Overdose now just needs to close out this chase to secure that 4K1.
Yes, finding Elixir is extremely important, especially because this ace is the last fresh hook. This is the person who might potentially somehow screw up Deli if it wasn't on Sin for some reason. Yato's bleeding out is not an issue because the fresh hook has already been obtained. So this is, as long as they stay on Lix and they get the down and the hook before Hatch opens, this will be the end of the game, but it means that Cataclysm's Nurse can figure out where their headspace needs to be. They know what the win con needs to be. They already have their build already sent in, so they can't change it. But gives them a little bit of time to take a deep breath and figure things out. But this is a great chase at the end, though.
Absolutely, yeah. Good last showcase from Lix here, showing how long he can run the Nurse for. And now, finally landing that down, Overdose just going for this hook. Now it's all up to whether Yatos can bleed out, which could potentially... is Yatos fresh? I can't even remember.
They've already been hooked once, so...
Okay, so it doesn't matter.
That's the last fresh hook. Yep,
that's the last fresh hook. So even with the bleed out here, so now all it really comes down to is whether Yatos can make Hatch or not, which, you know, from Killer side here, should not be possible, since they can most likely just close the hatch before Yatos can crawl to it. But just to save on time, Overdose is just going to be looking around for Yatos now. Just get that last hook, end the game, close it out, and then switch over to their Survivor side, try to meet that win con. But Yatos, so far, not getting found, as Overdose is just searching for the Survivor. And again, Yatos probably trying to make his way over to the hatches. That's all that you can really play for in this moment. There's nothing else to worry about. So just going to see whether Yatos is taking a weirder route or just going straight for it. You know, you could potentially see him coming straight down the middle for it, but it looks like Overdose is going to be searching around the edge map to see if Yatos was positioning in a different area. But with 70-second hook timers, it's actually working against the Survivors sometimes, as it takes a lot longer for the first hook to go down, meaning that Hatch takes longer to spawn, which gives the killer more time to search for the Survivor. And again, unless the killer messes up in the situation, there's really no way for the Survivor to escape. We do hear the Survivor here at main building. Interesting positioning from the Survivor. It looks like he's vomiting into the toilet. I guess that's the play. Is that what he's trying to do there? It's what it seemed like to me.
I mean, yeah, maybe that's what the Nurse with a lowercase n suggested for them to do, but that will be a 4K1 on Nurse on Thompson House for Valhalla's Killer against these Cataclysm Survivors. And Cataclysm's Killer is next up to bat. And Autumn, is there any other notes we need to talk about before we send it to a break?
Just that these Survivors now have a pretty good win con. Again, it's not out of the question and is somewhat common to get outs on this map versus Nurse. So the Survivors are in a very good spot here, but it is Nurse and 4K is happening a lot. So I would say that both sides kind of have equal chance right now. So we're going to be seeing a very interesting game too, is what I'm getting at. So if you guys want to stick around and see the interesting conclusion to this matchup, stick around for game 2 of this Nurse Thompson House match.
Welcome back to Chainsaw Slaughter. We have Cataclysm's Nurse player Sin against these Valhalla Survivors with a tie condition of 4K1. And we see the same Nurse build, but Autumn, what does Sin have to do to make sure to get this tie condition, or even better, a win condition?
Honestly, all Sin can hope for here is playing it the same way, but with a faster tunnel out. We see the first swing whiffing in here, with the sprint burst coming in. 2 blinks coming down, and that's going to be the first hit of the game very early. Survivors are probably only now getting to their generators, and now Sin just going to be potentially dropping Chase or losing Survivor. Looks like they're getting a little confused by the scratch marks, but they do have that undetectable, so if they wanted to change targets, that would be completely fine in this moment, although it looks like they're going to be committing down now and just playing for this down over here on this corner of the map, although it looks like we got Tap here now, getting the hit onto Tap and trading targets, using that undetectable to his advantage, confusing the Tap a little bit now, and is going to be going for the down onto Tap now. Having an injure on the board here is very, very useful, although now has a full blink. Needs to be careful or else, yeah, they're going to blink into basement. Absolutely catastrophic for this killer now, absolutely just missing the Survivor and going down in the basement, getting so much distance, and now not getting the down as quick as we see Alice getting reset somewhere on the map, and Sin now in a position where there's gen progress and no down, which is not how you want him to start this game off.
Another important part is if they got the down on Tap there, they have the down outside of the Corrupt. They have it next to a Ruin Totem in Shack with a potential to hold a 3-gen and one, if not both of your totems. That was a 4K1 or 4K2 served up on a plate. There is the second totem here on bottom side as well. Surveillance now proccing on this generator. Knows the Survivor is nearby. Sees its high progress. Sees the scratch marks. Not seeing the Survivor yet, but hear the footsteps. Trying to stabilize, but so are the Survivors. Getting the heal onto Romano. And Sin Corrupt ends with no down. That's not what you're going to see often in a Nurse game.
Yeah, some of it is the size of the map, and some of it is just the fact that the first chase was longer than it should have been, and there was no down for it. As we see the first totem getting broken now. Sin now back on the first Survivor he found earlier in the game, trying to see if he can make up for that first chase, getting the tag now, and this could potentially be a 2-tap, as that was just a 1 blink, so now he has both blinks in his back pocket. That's going to be 2 1 blinks in a row. Very fast chase making up for that. We do see the generator highlighted yellow here, meaning that a Survivor did get back on it. And the question is he going to be able to make it to that gen in time, because it was pretty high progress, and it looks like we're going to see the first generator popping, Sin getting the first hook of the game at the same time, and these Survivors having a decent amount of pressure on other generators as well, so are in a good spot currently, although we do see a Survivor getting found here towards the edge of the map, far enough away from the hook that they can't even 1-for-1 if they get tagged here, meaning they just have to take it down the map and have someone else rotate, meaning the Survivors are going to be very occupied right now as Ruin eats away at any gen progress that they were working on, although with only 1 gen being left here, I think Sin's just making the assumption that no one is rotating now, or at least if someone's rotating, they weren't on a generator. But we do see another totem going down, and we're in the same position we saw the Nurse in last game, which is you lose all your perks but Surveillance, and Surveillance on its own is really not all that beneficial unless you're going out of your way to kick gens. But because of the size of the map, that wastes so much time just to get small value out of your perk. And we see Nancy taking Sin away very far from the hook, and now Sin realizing this, maybe getting caught out or baited into a bad rotation here, as Romano does make it back injured, but gets the unhook, which means that that is going to be a last second pull coming in here, as Sin now has to tunnel, although it looks like they're just going to drop and go for Romano instead, getting the down as Romano dies on pallet. Sin just going for the slug, no, going to be picking, and now they're in just kind of a rough spot. No tunnel out started here with an unhook already coming in 2 gens. This could potentially be a deliverance in play. So much rooting against Sin right now that he has to recover from this current position.
Yeah, I think what they were really prioritizing here is they're looking at this hook position. They have main building, they have a hill hook, a hill gen, and another gen nearby, hoping to hold down this 3-gen. That's why they were comfortable taking the Claudette away from the high progress gen, away from the road totems, is they might be trying to play this 3-gen to try to get a 4K1 tie condition. We saw this gen over here for the potential 4-gen already finished. So this is really the only 3-gen I think Nurse can play for. The others being mid-map and Shack, too far away to combine, and there is the Shack gen. So Sin is now playing Balloons tower defense, but it's Generator tower defense with this hook position here.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just playing this 3-gen, letting all the gens pop, and just playing for the tie condition, though it is extremely risky to be going for a play like this, considering the fact that all 4 Survivors are still alive. If someone comes in and gets this last second trade with Romano, then the killer doesn't really have a lot of pressure to pressure these gens. The Survivors can just take tags, go reset, and things like that. And we do see the last second 1-for-1 coming in here. Romano getting pulled, Overdose going down, and now Sin going to be playing for the tunnel out onto Romano. just following behind, using his blinks, getting stuck here on the staircase, potentially body blocked by the survivor actually, as he tried to blink through, coming around the corner as Romano is making his distance out of the 3-gen, and now so far away from the 3-gen that Sin doesn't even want to commit. He doesn't want to risk this gen over here getting high progress, so he's going to be just leaving Overdose slugged and watching any rotations, finding scratch marks here as Overdose does either UB or get picked up here. Sin finds a survivor over on the edge map. Even if they get tagged here, that they make it out of the 3-gen, and this is exactly what I was referring to before. When you have a 4v1 and a 3-gen situation, it is so breakable from the survivors as long as they make distance properly. And now Sin is just struggling to find a chase that he can commit to and still manage to get a hook in his gen setup, because if they die away from these gens, the progress is going to shoot up and Sin is not going to be able to protect them anymore, meaning he is just holding this 3-gen. Although that being said, Overdose does get caught out injured in the 3-gen and is not going to be able to make enough distance because there's going to be no tag to take them away as the down comes out. And now Sin can potentially just wants to slug them, not wanting to risk any deliverance, just keeping them slugged and keeping that pressure on the ground as he goes to interrupt this generator, as the survivor starts walking towards the corner of the map, again putting themselves in a position where they might not be able to make it out of the 3-gen, which is exactly what Sin was looking for.
You're correct, Sin here on the chase in the 3-gen, has a slug, has another survivor stuck here, but that does mean these survivors can be trying to get the pickup onto Overdose, and someone picks up Overdose, whether it be themselves or a teammate. A tag comes on to Svexy as agendas pop. I can't see which one that is from the arrow, but that might make a big difference, and the down does come on to Svexy, but it might be far enough away from the 3-gen. That is not going to mean too much. The reset comes on to Overdose. An important thing here is keeping track of Deli. We saw that Romano, someone had to come save them. They weren't Deli. If Romano was on the hook and it was a choice of who gets the unhook, Svexy or Overdose, and one has Deli, you know which one you're sending. So Svexy doesn't have Deli. So it's a question of, was it Overdose with Deli active or Alice who was the first hook? But this was close enough to get a decent hook in the 3-gen. Not super defendable. It's kind of on the outside edge of the 3-gen. Easier to make distance out of the 3-gen, but it is enough that Sin has a chance. And here is the single hook spin burst. Alice. Are they going for one for? They're not going to go for the 1-for-1. They're staying deep in this pocket, just trying to waste some of Sin's time. But what does that mean the progress of main building gen is here, Autumn?
They could potentially just be doubling it out and just having Alice sit around for pull, or they could be splitting the hill gen and the main gen, although Alice gonna be getting tagged here. If Alice was the one playing for the pull, then now they're super far away and are not able to 1-for-1 as Romano does get reset. Getting body blocked again, not quite able to get the down as Alice does manage to get out of the 3-gen. That could have been a sticky situation, but they do get away as Svexy gets pulled. It's either a second wind or a deliverance there. Wondering which one it could possibly be in this moment, and we will find out in the next little bit soon. Not able to get the down onto Alice, and during this whole period, the gens are being worked, and I wouldn't be surprised if main generator, we're above 50% progress now, and we see the highlighted yellow generator from the surveillance over there. That was the second wind coming in, which is a lot of pressure removed from these survivors. That's one less injured survivor to worry about. We have 3 currently working on the 3-gen. Alice can just chill back for a second while they get the progress, and if they have enough progress, then they don't even have to worry about the reset right now, and they do have enough progress as they're doubling out this gen and pop it. Sin not able to make it back in time as these survivors are now scattering, trying to split their gates and their positions so that they don't give too many downs here, playing for the best result they possibly can. This has been an absolutely great performance from these survivors, breaking this 3-gen, low stages into endgame versus Nurse too. Just really showcasing how the map size can hurt a killer if the survivors play it properly. Sin now just trying to get at least a single down in this endgame as Overdose dodging that blink. Excellent last second double back as these survivors are coming in to assist, trying to body block versus the Nurse, which we all know is kind of futile. Tag coming in onto Svexy, does take the hit for Alice, or for Overdose, but Overdose is not going to make it very far, just dies on the pallet close to the gate. They could potentially play for a pallet save here, although it looks like Sin finds all 3 survivors, so the chances of that happening are now extremely low, and Sin just going to be forcing these survivors away now from his hard-earned down. Just going to make sure that no one around here can get that pallet save so he can get as many stages as possible. But that being said, that is going to be the win for Valhalla secured, as they did manage to meet the win con of popping all generators, regardless of the number of stages given. So now Sin is just playing for best results, and so are these survivors as they are trying to get all the survivors out right now, trying to play for that 4 out. Sin Still worried about a flashlight or flashbang safe potentially in the area. Is going to be looking around. And it's just going to be picking up and hoping that no one blinds, and no one does, as Sin is going to be taking his hook now, his first hook in endgame, as these survivors might just take their 3 outs and end the game at this point, as they have already met their win con. But they could also potentially play for the 4 outs. We'll have to see what they want to do here. It looks like they might be resetting since they haven't left yet. And now Sin just playing in between the gate and the hook, trying to prevent them from getting the unhook, trying to get best result possible.
I do want to commend both of these teams. Even after WinCon was met, they're playing absolute hardball, trying to get all the stages, putting on a show for Chainsaw Slaughter. I know quite a few teams that in this setting would have just phoned it in, called it a day, not try to go for anything cool or fancy. But now we do see Overdose getting unhooked, which I believe that is the Deliverance, because we already saw a second win coming through. Overdose might be trying to make it to the other gate. Is that what Romano was doing while the other 2 survivors were at the other gate? Did Romano 99 this gate? Is this gate open with a tap to body block? And it is. What a great heads up play by Romano and this survivor squad from Valhalla to understand they can make that play. That will be the best of 1 trial 4 set win for Valhalla versus Cataclysm, so we'll be seeing them tomorrow. And we will be continuing Chainsaw Slaughter today with our next match being Echoes versus Elevate. And Autumn, let's be mean, let's keep the next killer a little bit of surprise. It's not Tony being on stream yet. Shh. But we'll make them stay to figure that out.